In this video, I'm going to be talking about the sun line and the many variations and markings seen on this line. I'm going to be discussing fame, fortune, defamation, financial loss, scandal, as well as success through guilty love affairs and disastrous partnerships, money through the family lawsuit with a relative, major financial loss, as well as the signs of fame and brilliance. Good sun line, regardless of where it begins on the palm, should be vertical, should be straight, have no obstructions or defects, and such a line shows the potential for great happiness and prosperity, success. This is why the sun line is known as the success line or Apollo line because it's on the Apollo mount. I should say here that a lack of a sun line does not mean that a lack of success is imminent, because in fact, what I have here is the hand of a famous person, and yet their success line is somewhat lacking. There are two just here, but really, success for one person means a very different thing to another. On the left hand, as with this person, what this really shows is how this person feels about their success. In a lot of palmistry textbooks, quite laughably almost, the sun line appears something like this, which is, I say laughably because it's just so unrealistic. This would certainly represent a glorious and happy life, a sign of potentially a child protege, would certainly represent certain distinctive privileges and social advantages. It would suggest a person has begun life almost elevated, would certainly show an enviable position and would provide someone with such a massive advantage in life and also the advantage to elevate even further in life. Someone with a success line like this, and I've never seen one, by the way, would show an exceptional mind for art. And in whatever field they found themselves in, would likely discover prestige and honor. A sun line which originates from inside the lifeline on the Mount of Venus and rises past the lifeline, past the fate line, and onwards shows a person who has been encouraged and supported by family in their living environment, in their career, and has been helped to propel onwards through this. It is a mark of success in art and or literature. It's certainly a lucky sign, but what it also shows is a person with this sign is highly intelligent and able to effectively use this keen intelligence in an ability to elevate themselves. The level of success a person with this sign would have is, it would be quite unusual. A person with a sun line that originates on the lifeline itself and rises up to the sun mount again shows support from the family, but this success that they have likely worked towards, as well as with the support from family, comes later in life. A person with this marking certainly rises to a great level of success, as seen with the sign represented before this one. However, not quite to such a high degree, perhaps, but certainly reaches a higher merit than that of their own parents. Person who has a sun line which comes from lower lunar, close to the base of the wrist, and rises up towards the base of the third finger, the Apollo mount, really shows a sign of actually the potential to be a born actor, someone with a great amount of sex appeal and has support from the opposite sex. It shows support from outside influences, perhaps international support. It certainly shows success in a field of performing arts, whether it's poetry, literature, on the stage, dance, potentially, or singing. And it also shows that potential to influence others, to influence afar. Luna is the place of imagination and restlessness, but it's also our ability to affect and be affected from the outside forces. In other words, overseas. And that's partly because Luna is this massive and vast expanse of water by which Luna affects the tides. Sunline that begins in the middle plane of central Mars shows success does come, but not without great struggle, not without a great deal of hard work, and likely later in life. The middle plane of Mars deals with social constructs, deals with our daily conflict and connection with people, society. Person with this sign achieves their success only through their own merit and likely has a lot of resistance from others. There is no outside support here for this person. They will achieve, but only through their own efforts. It should be said that such slow growing and determined success is built on very strong foundations and is going to last. If you want a job done right, you do it yourself. Sometimes a sunline originates on the fate line and works its way towards the mount of the sun. If this is the case, whatever a person chooses as their career, they will certainly become successful in it, and more likely if it's the arts, if it's in literature, if it's poetry, if it's dancing, singing, or acting, or of course painting or drawing. It shows an innate aptitude towards all creative industries. Essentially, it's a sign of earned success through a creative career. Ultimately, it's a fortunate sign, but not without some hard work. And that hard work is certainly supported by their aptitude towards their chosen career. In really interesting cases, the sunline originates on the mount of outer Mars and rises up towards the Sun Mount. Did I say Sun Mount? Sun line originates on outer Mars. Now, this shows a real resistance towards problem solving in the goal of achieving success. It shows an aggressive approach almost to fame and fortune. A person with this marking will stop at literally nothing, and they don't see an obstacle as most people do. A person with this sign has great stamina, as I say, resistance, and also has, an ability, such determination that they will learn whatever it is that they have to in order to achieve. A person with this sign, I would think, is sure to see success, not without their own hard work, dogged determination. A sunline that originates on the headline and works its way up onto the sun mount, it really is a sign of a brilliant mind. A person with this sign achieves success by their own mind alone, by their own ability, their own strength of their mental capacity to learn and achieve. They owe their success to no one but their own mind, and they likely are highly gifted in a creative field, but mostly able to utilize their brilliant mind in achieving that success alongside their aptitude in a creative field. It shows relentless determination and devotion to their art and research in becoming a master in whatever it is that they've chosen. I would say that the most common of sun lines originates on the heart line. It's a sign of success later in life from 53 and onwards. It's certainly said to be associated with success by support from a partner, and is also a potential sign of success in a creative field of some sort, a love of the arts, as it were. Financial security comes in later life for an individual with such a sunline. It is also a possible sign that a person is liable to be sidetracked by matters of the heart. So a potential love interest could divert this person's attention and focus on their art because of their emotional connection to their success. In other words, their success can somewhat be diverted by their emotional energies, so to speak. Sunlight that starts off strong at the base of the hand and early on in life shows that a person has a real brilliant beginning to their career, beginning to brilliant start to life, and looks to become or have the potential to become something quite brilliant, but then for whatever reason is not able to, maintain that brilliance. It might be people lose interest in their particular skill set, and the trend of their skill peters out, and so too does their fortune and fame. Should be said here that, such a sun line would be very easily confused with a fate line. So too, I would think a sun line stopping at the headline be easily confused for a fate line. Shows a misalignment of however brilliant a person's talents. It shows the likelihood of catastrophic eventualities through their misdirected efforts in life. A person with this sign needs very careful and impartial reevaluation of their skills and talents and career, and would really need to reassess what it is that they want to do and why they should be doing it in order to change that possibility of disastrous effects. Sunlight stopping at the heart line would certainly show someone who is unable to achieve success because of their emotional framework, because of their reactions in certain environments. It shows essentially a barrier towards success, a blockage, an obstacle, because of an emotional aspect of the person. Much like the sign before, it's unfortunate because this person has greatness and brilliance about them, but they are themselves, in a sense, their own worst enemy. When the success line is thin, when it is not quite thick enough, it shows the potential for success is there, but the quality of it is not as it should be. And it should be said here really that lines can and do change all the time. In particular, the sun line. I've seen this line change very quickly and often. And so I would look out for a line like this to um, thicken, widen, deepen, and that way it would show a greater potential and a greater quality of success. The sun line, as to the reason why it rises to the sun mount, is because it's the destination of a person's happiness. And how we get there is represented in the way in which this formation of this line occurs. A thick sun line shows quite a brash and vulgar approach towards this effort of prosperity, peace, happiness, joy, and what makes us shine. It shows success in a creative industry, in the arts, essentially, but in a way that is potentially distasteful and quite aggressive, lacking in culture, shall we say. There's a lack of delicate nature, no tact to a person that achieves in this way. When a person's sunline begins very strong and then begins to kind of thin out and disappear, and then seemingly begin again, start anew, it shows initially a person was, as I've stated before, quite aggressively successful. And over time, this success wanes when a person in some way is not receiving enjoyment or success, fame, wealth as they feel they should. But this period of obstruction without reward is overcome because this person once again achieves this success. And if this success is as represented here, much high, later on in life and higher up on the mountain of the sun, it shows this success is eventually long lasting. And they do, in fact, achieve this and remain to keep it later on. An island found on the sun line is a mark of loss. Islands are generally times of struggle where energy is not able to flow as freely as it should. It's some sort of obstacle. In this case, it's not a good omen. It shows loss, humiliation, defamation, financial loss, and it's the potential for scandal in some way. Could be something like an affair that affects a person's career, comes out in the public eye, and in some way affects this person's success. It's possible a person's character is marked by some sort of ill behavior due to whatever it is that they have committed. Obstacles in our path of success can be seen in many ways, like the one I've just shown you, but when we see a horizontal bar crossing our path towards our happiness, it shows the potential for an outside influence to try to, in some way, obstruct our success, and it's likely a sign of um, an envious person in some way trying to um, prevent us from succeeding. Now, if we see, and I've done, you know, unrealistic, I suppose, representation here with a thick bar here, it shows a person has great success in stopping this person's success because it's thicker than the line of success itself. If the bar is thinner, then it shows that this episode of obstruction from created by another is passable. There is the potential here to look into the possibility in other areas of the palm as to whether or not this person has the potential to aggravate others or in some way create conflict. And also, it's extremely important to look at the health of the sun line after such an obstacle, because this really displays the overall outcome and again provides a clue and insight into whether or not this person is in some way the cause of their own obstacle. Person with a wavy sun line is in some way sort of troubled and misguided because although there is brilliance and great potential, they are lacking in uh, certainty as to how best to focus their talents, and their fame and fortune is likely a little bit all over the place, as the sun line suggests. A person with such a line really requires stable, outside, impartial advice, and I would think if they are in a creative field, an agent who has that ability to, provide that advice impartially. Person with such an unrealistic, frankly, sun line that begins at the wrist and rises up onto the sun mount, in particular with a headline that reaches the entirety of the width of the palm and that is particularly straight, is in some way inclined to become absorbed in the acquisition of wealth. Their every single aim in life from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed is single-mindedly aimed at making money. It's likely that if you did see someone with a hand, with signs like this in their hands, with in particular, the long, straight headline, that headline would be joined with the lifeline as well, because they would leave nothing to chance. Every single moment is planned meticulously with the aim of making money, and I'm not talking about a small amount of money. Person with this particular sign or signs would end up amassing great wealth. There you go. Would look something a little bit like this. It's an extremely unrealistic uh, set of markings, but I would likely expect to see this on the hands of, someone like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, um, the owner, CEO of Apple, whatever his name was. Sometimes a rising line from the headline can be seen attaching itself to the sunline, and this shows the ability, to the credit of the person, to make money through their own intelligence, through their own observant, opportunistic approach. If, however, this line cuts through the line of success, it shows major financial loss. Rising lines from the headline that appear to rise in the area of outer Mars. This isn't a perfect example, really, but this is outer Mars. It shows the need to build security for the future, tactical strategy, planning, resistance, and it really shows this need to make money for the future. So that's what this is. It's an idea coming from this person's mind and sadly affecting their success in a negative way. A success line marked by the influence inside Venus, the domestic sphere, shows money from family. It shows not without hardship and struggle that there is financial support and aid, financial success through their own relatives in some way. The reason why this is a bit of a struggle is because this influence, although it's supportive, has to cross this person's environment, the way in which they live their life, their destiny, and affects their mental health in some way. In other words, it's just very stressful and affects everyone. This marking should not be misinterpreted for an influence inside or coming close to home, coming from close to home, that actually looks to affect or cut through success. That would imply the opposite, in fact, not support, not money coming from a relative, but in fact, loss of success or the ability to make money because of a family relative. Now, similarly, when we see an influence coming from close to home that looks to, in a more horizontal manner, affect a person's sunline, it shows more of an obstacle. It's not supportive because it's not rising steeply, curving upwards and touching the sunlight. It's not supporting, it's not looking for support. It's in fact looking to take or obstruct or affect, attack this person's success. It's the potential for a lawsuit with a family member. If in fact this line occurs something like this, it would show the hand's owner does in fact succeed, legally speaking. If in fact the influence line, this horizontal influence line from the family cuts the sun line and continues onwards. And again, it's important to look at the sun line after this time to see um, what the outcome might be and how this has affected this person's success. It certainly points towards, again, a lawsuit, but instead this person losing that lawsuit and losing financially to a family member. When the sun line is joined to the fate line by particularly a rising line, when it's connected, it shows a fortunate partnership. Partnership where both parties benefit. It is both materially and emotionally advantageous to both. If, however, this partnership looks to cut through the fate line, it would show this partnership is potentially disastrous and should be avoided. When a person's success line is cut by a marriage line, it shows that their brilliant and potential fame and success is in some way obstructed by this union, and it's a particularly unfortunate sign. It shows loss and unhappiness through a relationship, through marriage, likely being that this marriage line is so long, and it shows that the person is suffering financially because of this marriage and is suffering in terms of happiness as well. They would likely lose their standing in their career, they would lose their reputation potentially, they would lose their ability to get ahead in life because of this union. When a brilliant sun line or success line begins as a result of an island, it shows the origins of a person's success due to a guilty love affair. And although this person would become highly successful and famous, likely, it's because of this origin, it's because of this guilty love affair, it's who you know after all, and would likely be the envy of many people around them. So that is it. Those are my signs and markings on the sun line, the origins and endings, and all of the Palmer markings in between. If you've got any questions about your sun line, feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any one question about the palms, or if in fact you would like a palm reading, feel free to visit my website and book there. If you'd like mentorship in learning palmistry, you can sign up for my level 2 membership. It's $4.99 a month, and for that you get fortnightly assignments with me and membership only videos.